Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to Season 2 of the Ottercar AI Racing Series, here for round number 5 of competition here at Road America up in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, for, as you can see with the sign on camera right now, the Cheese Rubber Grand Prix. And I'll tell you what, race fans, this should be heck of a race here this evening. This track located up in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, which of course is very fitting for the track covered in cheese sponsors for the Cheese Rubber Grand Prix. Opened up back in 1955, and of course, kind of famous for last season, the NASCAR Xfinity Series ran here, where Josh Bilicki famously crashed into a Sargento cheese sign, and the folks that over and run Sargento thought it was so funny that they proceeded to sponsor for him for his next race. So of course, a lot of cheese here in this Cheese Rubber Grand Prix. Currently, drivers trying to put cheese down on the track as we speak. So far, qualifying seems to be a bit of a struggle here. It looks like every single driver has once again found a way to crash out of their qualifying lap. So looks like everyone will just have a random starting spot unless anyone, manages to turn a clean qualifying lap. And right now, it doesn't look like that is going to happen. Very overcast here at Wisconsin, though. Only a 65-degree Fahrenheit track temperature, so things are going to be pretty fast here. And I would imagine that this low track temperature is why everyone is currently crashing out of their qualifying laps. That would be my number one assumption here. Oh, look at that. Sure enough, some of these drivers have actually managed to turn a clean qualifying lap here. This track is so large that qualifying is still ongoing here. Of course, 4 miles in length. That comes to roughly about a 2.5 minute lap time here. Currently looking down at Sarah something in the 777 as she turns her qualifying lap here. Currently she is the fastest car of the drivers that have actually managed to turn a qualifying lap, which isn't really saying anything because most drivers have wrecked out of their attempts to do that. So we'll see how this goes for the drivers at 777. A couple other drivers that have managed to put times on the board. Oh, you know, Queen Amatrine Rally, Drop Table Roster, Madcap, MF Beatus. Dwayne Day has turned a time, but he just wrecked out of his qualifying a lap. Ame Sakaramori also has managed to put in a qualifying time. The blockers don't count. 15th, 16th, 17th. Who cares? The blockers aren't real. I also really like that how we have some ghost sparkles on the track, as even though each driver is in their own instance of the track turning their respective qualifying laps at the same time, so we can see the sparks coming out of every car as if every car was here on the track right now. Another driver having an off. Ame Sakaramori going off the track just a little bit. That is going to be messing up its second qualifying lap here, so that lap will not count. 9th place is going to be the best that Ame Sakaramori will be able to do. Couple other drivers around the field also having off tracks. Drop table roster. Oh dear, that is not how you turn a qualifying lap. Fortunately, this damage will all be repaired prior to the race starting, but I think we gotta take a look back. We gotta see what all went down with drop table roster to put potentially the most catastrophic damage I've ever seen on one of these Ottercar cars so far here in season number 2. That's not great. That's not good. Pro tips for doing well at this track: don't do that. Don't do what he did. Couple of drivers still out on the speedway here. It looks like mostly people are coming back down to pit lane now. Sure enough, same for Queen and Matrine. Is there anyone out there on the track still attempting to turn a qualifying lap? It looks like the answer is going to be no. Everyone is pretty much pulling it back down pit lane here at this point. So, that said, let's go ahead. Yeah, looks like everyone has turned a qualifying lap here. So we're going to go ahead and break the immersion for a right second here and advance to the race. We're just going to pretend that UI did not show up on the screen. Of course, here in real life motorsports with these real life drivers driving these Ottercar drivers, they don't have UI, they don't have overlays in the real world. As we've established, this is very much a real world race with real world consequences going on for it. That said, drivers making their way down to the starting grid, so how about we take a look at our official starting lineup and see how things will be shaking out here, as unfortunately, we have to do a full pace lap around this track. So we're gonna go ahead and get that started now, because it is a whole 5-minute endeavor to pace around this track under caution. It is a nightmare. They have plenty of other tracks, like for example, the track we had for the Snowfall Showdown to open the season, Summit Point, less than half of the length of this track, and it has a short qualifying, or it has a short starting lap where it only is the final 2 corners and then you take the green. But no, at this track there's a full 4 kilometers or 4 miles or 6.5 kilometers in length. You have to do the full pace lap. I don't get it. Regardless, starting out here on the pole with a 2:21.610. That's going to be Sarah something in the 777 with her first ever pole, I think, of either season, now that I think about it. Starting to hit her outside in the number 420. That's going to be OU No, with, again, best start we have seen for that driver here all season. Third place going to go back to Queen Amatrine, sponsored by Riot Games in that number 37 machine, followed by the 11 of Ash back in position number 4. Fifth place going to go back to the 26 of Rally for the Hybrid Development Team, followed by the 369 of Drop Table Roster, who, despite violently exploding in his second qualifying lap, is still starting within the top 10. Back in position number 7, that's going to be the 38 of Madcap, followed by the 818 of MF Beta, starting back in position number 8. Ninth place going to go back to the 4 machine. That's Dwayne Day out back in the 9th spot, followed by Ame Sakuramori in the 2 for Higher Development Team, starting off position number 10. 11th place going to go back to the number 1 of Med, followed by the 800 entry of Deeg, starting back in position number 12. 13th, going to go back to the 985 of Jeremy Albertson, followed by the 88 of Ashley, back in position number 14. 15th, going to go back to that Czech driver. That is the number 12 of Pav, running all by himself here. The only other Czech driver here on the raceway is actually our pace car operator, none other than Dirt. Starting back in position number 16, that's the 666 entry. That's going to be Zoe, followed by the 44 limited time McDonald's McRib, rolling off position number 17. We're now at the end of the list for drivers that successfully turned a qualifying lap. Of course, I am not out here in the field. I am not starting position number 18, but rolling off behind there, this is going to be all random, as these drivers did not successfully complete a qualifying lap. 19th is going to be going back to the 776 of Valnar, followed by the 21 of August, back in position number 20. 21st going to be going to the 93 of Bloody Wolf, followed by the 901 of Sarkin, back in 22nd. 23rd going to go to the 69 of Chris Cox, followed by Lake in the 330, back in position number 24, with the tail end of the field here being comprised of Thirds and Ash. And actually, it looks like somehow, there we go, now the tail end of the field is here. That is going to be the 7 of Kevin 11, starting out at the tail end of the field. And of course, behind all that is the blocker cars, which don't count here. The blocker cars do not have rights. However, we still are pacing here in Elkhart Lake, because like I said, I warned you, this is a 5-minute pace lap around this track. 4 miles in length, or 6.5 kilometers. 14 laps is going to be the distance, which doesn't sound like a lot, but again, these drivers are setting 2.5-minute long lap times here, so these laps won't be quite as quick as any of the other tracks we've been to. That said, we finally made our way back to the back straightaway, and the iRacing.com pace car is going to make the dip down into the safety of pit lane. Green flag up in the air, and we have drivers making contact with the outside wall already. It's a little bit of a disastrous initial start here. Couple of drivers slow as we cross the line as they decide to scrape the pit lane attenuator wall, but you know what, it's no big deal. It's fine, you can do that. Couple of drivers off the track, not quite actually. We do have a slow car here. Sarah something is slowing everyone down here big time. It looks like she might have actually gotten damaged. Sure enough, she's trying to pull it down to the low line of the racetrack so that the rest of the drivers can go by, and everyone's kind of stuck behind her because she decided to run into the pit lane attenuator wall and now has damage on that 777 machine. Now everyone is starting to roll here and get around that slow car, but that is not the way most of these drivers wanted this race to start, being stuck behind the race leader, deciding to junk their car before we even reach the start-finish line, and oh well. So much for Sarah Saviron, I guess. It looks like she's probably going to be bringing it home in last place unless she can get that damage fixed and get back out on the track mighty fast like. As you can see here with the track map, things are looking pretty spread out throughout the field now, courtesy of Sarah something. Let's look a little bit further up the field where our drivers are actually duking it out. A little bit of tire lock up there for that 666 entry of Zoe. Almost sending it a little bit too hard into turn number 8. Technically speaking, 14 turns at this track, according to the official track guide, as Oh You Know goes off the racetrack. He's scraping up against the outside wall. Oh You Know doing the same thing. Oh, we have multiple drivers completely blowing the corner here. And will we see them be able to get it rolling again, or are they going to be stuck down there? It does not look like that 369 is going to be able to get rolling again. No, they will not. They are going to call the tow truck to come down pit lane, and with that, the first caution flag of the evening flies for drivers being just a little bit stupid here. Just a little bit. Who knew that driving in effectively a straight line would be so difficult? As the caution flag flies, let's take a look back, see what all went down here to bring out this first caution of the evening. And it looks like Oh You Know, our race leader, is the one to blame for this here chicanery. That is not Oh You Know, that is MF Beatus, who is not the driver I'm looking for here. There we go. Mr. Oh You Know in the 420. Going a little bit too fast down into the kink at turn number 11. And surprise, there is in fact a wall there. And really, his incident's not all that offensive. It's Drop Table Roster, who violently exploded his car in practice that really caused everything to fall apart here. Everyone else successfully navigating the corner, but some people, cough cough, decided they needed to be overachievers going down on cold tires into turn number 11. And then everyone else just kind of piled in. So that's going to be taken out. Drop Table Roster, Oh You Know, Ame Sacramore, and MF Beatus. So it looks like Ame, MF Beatus, and Oh You Know are still out on the racetrack here. So due to the obnoxiously large size of this track and obnoxiously long pace laps, we will be shortening every caution, not just the ones where nobody pits, because I do not have the patience to sit here for 10 minutes under yellow for every yellow. But for now, we at least have to wait for this current pace lap to be completed before we can shorten it at all. Not even a lap in the books before someone had to go run off the track in turn number 11. We didn't even make it a full lap. It is going to shake out with Ash being our race leader, though, followed by Queen and Matrine back in second here. That's going to be Deeg in the 800 back in third, Rally in fourth, and Madcap rounding out the top 5 here under this caution. That's going to be Zoe, Ashley, Bloody Wolf, August, and Dwayne Day, your top 10. Right now, though, biggest mover on the track under that initial first lap is actually the 330 of Lake here, up plus 12 from where she qualified. And again, that was in half a lap before we had to throw the caution flag. So some of these drivers really making some big moves here in a pretty short amount of time. So if we manage to get a green flag run here, who knows how things might actually shake out. But for now, Ash is going to be scored as our race leader. And we'll see how long that lasts. He did qualify within the top 5, but he was nowhere near as fast as some of the other drivers we saw in the early goings of this one. I see there are some predictions going on here in the chat. Unfortunately, I can't really pull it up on the broadcast to see what things are shaking out as. Will it be an odd or even driver that wins the race? Right now, the 2 front row drivers are both odd numbers, but then third and fourth right now are both even numbers, so it could go either way here. We have officially crossed the start finish line. Lord, thank you. So we will be going 1 to green this time by, because again, I don't have the patience to sit here and spend 10 minutes under caution. So now that we have gotten that taken out, we just have to wait a couple more minutes to complete the remainder of this pace lap 2 by 2 all throughout the field as we stack them up and get ready to go green. We did have a couple of takers down on pit lane. It looks like thirds came down, Oh You Know came down, MF Beatus came down. And thirds was not involved in that incident also. It looks like that actually was a scheduled pit stop for the driver of the number 3 machine. So we'll just have to see how things shake out. It looks like only fuel for the number 3 car does not look like any tires have been put on at all. Going to be 11 to go once we go green flag racing once again, though. And already getting close to the 10-minute mark here in today's race. A couple of drivers going wide through turn 6 despite being under yellow. I think someone needs to tell them that you don't have to run the optimal racing line when your top speed is locked at 45 miles per hour. Look at Sarkin. Sarkin's off the track there too. I think we might be seeing some illegal tire cooling techniques going on here, race fans. Of course, I want to say probably about a year ago now, bit of controversy cropped up when drivers started using an exploit involving driving in the grass during an iRacing esports event that was broadcasted to a whole lot of people and made iRacing look kind of bad. Why is Jeremy Albertson off the track? We are under caution here. What did you do? What did you do? We are under yellow. Can we not have nice things here? Congratulations to Jeremy Albertson for being tonight's biggest loser for driving off the track under caution. It's really not that hard to go in a straight line here, people. But finally, making our way through Canada Corner, going to be getting ready to go back to racing here. Let's see who all manages to be stupid on this restart again. Will we see a Sarah Surviron technique pulled with the pit attenuator wall for a second time now? It is entirely possible. But I'll tell you what, judging off that initial restart, I would not want to be one of these drivers starting on the right lane here. Green flag up in the air. Let's try this thing again. It's looking like we're going to attenuate ourselves again. Yes, we are. Deeg is going to do it. Val's going to do it. And it's a race down into turn number 1. But there are a couple of slow drivers off the pace again from doing a little bit of the silly. But Queen Ametrine, sponsored by Riot Games, is going to take the race lead going down into turn number 1. Still pretty jumbled up all around the field. Ashley in that 88 up plus 10 as she gets around Madcap right there. Ashley having a really solid run here this evening, side by side just behind for Sarkin and Valnar. So it looks like despite the pit attenuator action we had going on there, the same way Sarah Surviron did, at least these other drivers don't look like they got engine damage in the same way that Sarah Surviron did. So not completely catastrophic there. Everyone heading down cleanly into turns 5 and 6 into the big uphill section right here. And so far everyone, for the most part, appears to be playing nice with each other. A little bit of bumping just behind that was Ash without an E, getting a bump from Pav there just a little bit. But so far so good around the racetrack, heading down into turn number 8. The question is going to be, will we see more shenanigans coming out of turn 11? So we're just going to go ahead and bring it on over to our race leader. We saw what happened last time, where your just top front runners all decided they wanted to go too fast into turn 11 and go off the speedway, but it looks like they're going to survive it just fine so far. Let's see how the rest of the pack manages to take turn 11. Is everyone behaving? Looks like yes, they are. No, they are not. Zoe launches herself off the racetrack, but she immediately comes back on. No real hard damage there. Jeremy Albertson also going to do it, but Jeremy Albertson's already tonight's biggest loser for driving off the track under caution. Believe it or not, race fans, we're actually going to see an entire lap completed under green. I didn't think it was possible. We have another car off the track. That is the 800 of Deeg. No, they are A-okay. They just cut the corner. They did not actually wreck. But Queen Ametrine is going to be scored as your race leader for our first green flag wrap of this event. Just behind is going to be that number 11 of Ash with an E. Will we see Ash go for the dive bomb down into turn number 1? No, not quite. He's actually being patient. I didn't know Ottercar drivers were capable of doing that. I take my words back, though. He's going to send it down into turn, technically number 3, according to the Road America website. They're calling this turn 3 and not turn 2. Why or how, I do not know, but Ash is going to make the move happen, and he is being scored as our new race leader. Pretty big gap from these two front runners back to the rest of the field, though. Leading the main pack right now is going to be that 800 of Deeg with Madcap and the 88 of Ashley just behind. Deeg gonna lock the brakes going down into turn number 5. Nothing too catastrophic right now, at least. Again, it's looking like these drivers miraculously are starting to actually be patient and maybe even play nice with each other. Who knew that the drivers of the Ottercar AI Racing Series could actually be patient and polite with each other, have some table manners even. Back further in the pack, it's all nose to tail from Rally on back to honestly about MF Beatus there. Maybe even, oh, you know, also pretty much in this battle. Everyone handling these fast right-hand corners here through turns 9 to 10 pretty handily. And so far, at least, everyone's playing A-okay with each other. Deeg, again, giving me a little bit of shock. Deeg really likes to give me notifications as we have a car around. That is Pav and the 93 of Bloody Wolf again. And they are all stacking it up back there. Will they be able to get it rolling, though, is the question. It's starting to look like no, they will not. Notice the field has gone by, and sure enough, they are all taking the tow down to pit lane. So the caution flag will fly once again here at Road America, and once again, it is an incident in the same corner. These drivers just cannot handle turn number 11, apparently. Let's jump back here, see what all went wrong to bring out this second caution flag of the evening, and it did start with the number 12 of PAV for the Shelter for Strays racing team. Once again, going too hard into turn number 11, and the same can be said for Rally and Bluey Wolf. And PAV, honestly, out of all the drivers involved in that, PAV did not have it all that bad. Let's take a look back here. Let's look down at Rally, who got a much harder impact here in turn number 11. I really think they need to reconsider where they put the tire barrier here, because all of these drivers so far have missed that tire barrier, crashing in this corner. Then a little bit of ARCA brakes as Lake and Kevin 11 piles on in back behind the number 26. Now, how about we take a look back? Let's ride on board with Lake here and see what she saw going into this incident here in turn number 11. Sees the impact happen, famously does not bother getting on the brakes, and collides into the back of the Silphco hybrid development team number 26 of Rally. Well, I'll tell you what, race fans, wouldn't be an Ottercar AI racing event without a little bit of drama. Ash and Queen Amatrine are still going to be your front row, followed by Deeg and Ashley, Madcap and Ash for your top 6. And it's going to be August, Sarkin, Pav, and Bloody Wolf, the remainder of your top 10 here under the second caution. Looks like we still have 23 minus the blockers. They don't count. So we still have 19 cars on the lead lap, with Valnar being at the tail end of that group. Then it's going to be Jeremy Elbertson, limited time 44, thirds, and Oh You Know, all back at the tail end of the field. But they are still running. They are still all on the lead lap right now. Now, I'd imagine here under this caution, we might see most of the field pit here, because of course there are the fuel limits put on these drivers here in Ottercar, so a pit stop is mandatory. And I'm a little bit curious to see how that strategy for thirds is going to play out. Thirds currently running back in the 16th position in that Pathfinder number 3. She is our championship leader coming into today's event. Of course, with how the playoffs work, the championship points aren't going to really matter here in about 2 weeks after we kick off the playoffs. And of course, Thirds has locked herself at least into the first round by taking home the win back at the Circuit of the Americas for the Shard of Texas 75 a few weeks ago. But Thirds is the only driver on the field who has made a pit stop that wasn't damage related, as far as I'm aware. So we could see Thirds potentially short pit the entire field here, depending on how her cards play out. And sure enough, everyone is coming down pit lane except for a select few. And Thirds is going to be one of the drivers electing to stay out, as she made that pit stop earlier in the race. So under this caution, we will see MF Beatus and Oh You Know be your race leaders on the restart, with Thirds and Jeremy Albertson back in 3rd and 4th. So of course, that does jumble up our standings a pretty heavy amount now, as looks like Sarah Something is going to be getting the lucky dog, so she is going to be waved around the pace car here. And of course, we will be now reducing the caution length, because again, we really do not need to wait a 3rd caution lap to go back racing. This track is too big for that. We're going to have 4 drivers on the front row here. MF Beatus, oh, you know, thirds, and Jeremy Albertson and Valnar also electing to stay out, but he is stuck behind the blocker cars. Everyone else in the field will be restarting behind the blocker cars here. So if thirds, MF Beatus, everyone in your top 5 that stayed out have the fuel to make it to the end, we could see this be your winning group of cars here, provided that nobody crashes out. There is a bit of damage on that 818 of MF Beatus there, because he was involved in the initial caution flag that came out, as it looks like Sarah Something, also tonight's biggest loser, as she also manages to go off the track under caution. I know it's a big deal. You got to be urgent. You got to be fast to catch up to the pace car before we go green flag racing, particularly at a track that is as big as this one. But you really don't. You don't have to drive so fast that you wreck yourself. But here we are, sure enough. We're going to rack the field back up, though, so we'll see what sorts of chaos decide to erupt going down into turn number 1 when we take the green, particularly with all of the field, with the exception of your top 4 here, being trapped behind the blocker cars on this restart. There also is a little bit of a question mark. I don't think it'll make that big of a difference, but it looks like everyone who has pitted under this yellow has taken tires. None of the 4 who pitted earlier, who are in your top 4 right now, have. I don't think with only 6 laps in the books, 4 of which being under yellow, tires are going to make a difference at all. But just something to keep in mind, that there are some alternate pit strategies going on here throughout the field. Now finally we see the rest of the field catching up to the pace car here. I'm not quite sure why they're all so hesitant to actually go 2x2 here. But you know what? This is Ottercar. I've learned that it's best not to question what these AI are trying to do, as drop table roster, our favorite overachiever, goes off the track again under caution here. And I'm starting to wonder now if everyone is single file because they're waiting for drop table to roster to catch up. Drop table roster might be getting instructed to pass the field here. I'm not quite sure, but either way, green flag is back up in the air. And it's going to be Oh You Know taking the race lead from MF Beatus as we come to the green. Little bit damage on that 818. Looks like it is affecting his aerodynamics here and making it kind of a struggle down into turn number 1. Just to be safe, because that restart looked a little weird, we're going to clear all. Sure enough, a bunch of drivers got penalties courtesy of drop table roster not catching the field, so that's that taken care of. Now there aren't any more penalties given to all of these drivers for drop table roster being a dummy and crashing himself under yellow. Your first 3 cars all breaking away from the field, though, going down into this first lap. Let's see how it looks back behind. Looks like most of these drivers are still stuck behind the blocker cars. They're a little bit hesitant to try and just run them off the track, which I think is silly. These blocker cars are here for the sole purpose of being run over. There's no reason to be polite with them. Just shove them off the racetrack, get them disqualified from the race. Everything will be fine. Unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case, though. Everyone is actually being polite and trying to pass the blocker cars normally. Deeg, again, going really wide through the corner, not crashing, no incident there, but going really wide down through turn number 7 there. I respect the grind of trying to carry the momentum through the corner, but that seems a little bit unnecessary there. As still, oh, we have MF Beatus off the track, and once again, he does the same thing in turn 11. And this looks like it's going to bring out the caution flag more than likely, as yes, he has to take the toe down to pit lane. Why can you not just take a corner like a normal person? I am tired of having to throw the yellow. All I ask is for a single green flag lap without someone doing something stupid. And also, by the way, courtesy of whatever batshit insane pit strategy Thirds has going on right now, she is our new race leader. So we'll see how that ends up shaping up. MF Vetus crashing himself out from third. So we will have a new host of drivers potentially leading the way here, as Sarah something going off the track again, under caution again. I'll tell you what, some of these drivers are pushing me over the limit here. Regardless, let's take a look back. Let's look at Mr. MF Vetus being a dumbass and overdriving turn number 11, as we have seen time and time again. Trying to catch up to our two race leaders with the damaged nose, and surprise, you don't have the aerodynamics that you thought you had there. No one else involved in this incident, though, just a single car deciding to be a little bit stupid here. I don't know why we're looking back at Madcap, but apparently Madcap went off the track at some point. That is a very inoffensive off track for the number 38, but it looks like it is going to send him back to the tail end of the field. Of course, this is not what caused the caution flag to come out, though. What caused the caution flag to come out was MF Vetus breaking the left front tire down into turn number 11. Absolutely wonderful displays of talent here at Road America here tonight. And MF Vetus, this is that driver's home track, and he is not having a great run here. He's not pulling a Sarkin and finishing second at his home track. In fact, he is crashing out multiple times now. But you know what? Sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. So your new top 5 going to be Thirds, Oh You Know, Deeg, Valnar, and Ash with an E. That's going to be Jeremy Albertson, Sarkin, Pav, Ashley, and Ash without an E. Rounding out your top 10 here. Going to be, looks like 4 to go when we go green flag racing once again. But what a headache it has been here at Road America. I think that we need to take these drivers back to driving school. Maybe reject their driver's licenses for the ones of them that do have driver's licenses, at the very least. It looks like, looking around the field, we have 18 cars still on the lead lap. So it's not that bad in that regards. Lake, what are you doing? Please stop. Just drive the car like a normal person. I know prior to season 1 starting, Lake told me in person that, and I quote, her racing line is mid. And considering that 330 machine currently being scored back in the 26th position, I am inclined to agree. And look at that. It looks like none of your front runners have the fuel to make it to the end. Thirds is pulled down pit lane. Oh, you know, is pulled down pit lane. Jeremy Albertson, Chris Cox have both come down pit lane. And that's not going to cycle your front runners into being Deeg and Valnar. Two drivers that have been having mostly quiet races that we haven't really had the opportunity to talk about at all. They're now going to be your two front row drivers here when we come to green again. And once again, shortening the caution here. We do not need to wait a third caution lap here at Road America. That is just unnecessary. So we're going to line them back up 2 by 2. It's going to be Deeg, Valnar, Sarkin, and Ash. Your 2 front rows when we go green flag racing once again. And now the big question is, how many more cars will we see crash out, catching back up to the field? That caution flag, unfortunately, has cycled Chris Cox, Jeremy Albertson in 3rd back to 19th on through to 21st. As now we see Rally off the track. Again, under caution. Brakes just don't exist, apparently. Looks like Rally at least does not have terminal damage there, so they're going to be able to keep it on rolling around the speedway. Rally, one of the drivers that has taken home a win here in Ottercar. I want to say Rally. Oh, Rally, you're doing it again. Rally, buddy. Rally. Turning is not that difficult. Under yellow, at pace car speed. So we'll see what happens here. We are within 5 to go. So at this rate, I'm not throwing the caution anymore. I want this race to end under green flag conditions. It'll be like what we've done at the other road courses. This race will end under green, so no more cautions after this one. We're keeping it green unless it is something truly catastrophic and everyone dies. We're keeping this race green flag racing because screw ending under caution. That is lame. We want to race to the checkered flag. We do not want to pace to the checkered flag. And as race control and God Emperor of Ottercar, I can make up the rules however the hell I want. And I'm saying no more cautions. So right now, while Rally is on the struggle bus right now, their teammate of Ame Sakaramori, at least is doing slightly better now, running up into the 13th position. As again, these drivers are having a bit of a struggle figuring out where exactly they're supposed to line up. We should be 2 by 2 all the way back right now, and that's not exactly what we see happening. Now drivers are starting to get themselves lined up. But now we come back around to turn number 14. It's going to be Deeg and Valnar leading the field to green. Sarkin, Ash, Pav, Ash without any, August, Queen, Amatrine, Dwayne Day, and Ashley. Your top 10 Ottercar drivers here. Pace car is off as Rally goes off the track once again, trying to catch up to the field. Green flag up in the air, and Valnar making a heck of a run up to the front of the field without really any difficulty. He made that look mighty easy in that 776 machine, but sure enough, Valnar is your new race leader as we come to the green with 4 laps left to go. Ash just behind, sending it in deep down into turn number 1, nearly rear-ending the 776 machine. Fortunately, managing to use his brakes as he's going to battle his way around and take the race lead. 2 by 2 just behind as Valnar starts to lose ground to Deeg, and it looks like Ashley in that 88 might be able to battle her way around him as well, side by side, as we send it on down into the downhill corner, turn number 5 here. And Ashley is going to make the move on Valnar, find herself up into the 3rd position. I believe the first time that we have seen this driver contend for the podium. All nose to tail through turn 6. It could still be anyone's game here. Call it about 14 or so miles left to go here in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, before we see another driver lock themselves into the Ottercar Season 2 playoffs, with the exception of Ash. Ash has won a race before, so if he gets the win, he will be picking up some points to use in the playoffs, but it won't actually really do all that much to help him when the playoffs come around. But Deeg, Ashley, Valnar, Pav, Ame, Sakaramori, everyone in the top 10 behind him have not taken home a win yet. So all these drivers are really going to be gunning for the potential to lock themselves into the playoff, as we see Dwayne Day go off the track. Again, a driver just slightly overdoing turn 11. Oh, you know, doing as well. Both drivers keeping it pointed in the right direction, though, and believe it or not, I'm not throwing the caution regardless, so good for them to not have completely obliterated themselves under that turn there. But now we're setting it down through turn number 14 as we once again somehow manage to complete a green flag lap. And that's not even with me being difficult and saying I'm not going to throw the caution. Ashley's going to pull it out well, try and make the move on Deeg, as we see Valnar and Pav both have to come down pit lane. It looks like neither of those drivers have fuel to make it to the end either. As Ash begins to pull away, it's still a drag race down into turn number 1 for Deeg and Ashley. Ame Sakaramori, who restarted back in 14th, has somehow made its way up to 4th. I'm not sure how that happened. Figuring that out is above my pay grade. Queen Ametrine off the track. She's going to bring it back up on the track. No damage on that car, it looks like. But the battle for the lead is where all of the drama is at right now, as we see Ash leading the field by about a second. That's going to be Deeg, Ashley, and Ame Sakaramori and Bloody Wolf making up this top 5 battle. And these top 5 cars have all kind of pulled away from the rest of the field. And I'll tell you what, we have some crazy numbers here in regards to positions gained right now. Ash is only up +3, Deeg up +10, Ashley +11, Ame Sakaramori +6, Bloody Wolf, Sarkin both up +16, as we see our race leader of Ash go off the speedway. His engine just exploded. Well, okay, well, Ash is not going into the playoffs. Then we're keeping it green. Like I said we would, we're not going under caution unless the entire field manages to wreck. That's going to have Deeg filter up to the new race leader position with a second advantage over Ashley and Ame Sakaramori. Let's take a quick look and try and process what just happened to our former race leader as he violently exploded into turn number 8. And yeah, that's race-ending damage for Ash. Looked like he had things in the bag, evidently not anymore. As we try and take it back up to green here, it looks like Ashley has gone off the track in... Where is that? That is that's the Canada corner, actually, where Ashley has gone off. So she is going to lose a position, but Deeg is slowed down big time in that 800. Not sure what that was. Bloody Wolf also off the track here in turn number 14. And now Ame Sakaramori, throughout that whole process, is your race leader again. Ame Sakaramori is going to be taking home a bonus point here this evening for leading a lap here. All it has to do is not do anything too heroic in the next 2 corners, as we see more of the field have to come back down to pit lane. More drivers needing fuel. Ashley, Deeg, August, Sarkin, Ash without an E, and Jeremy Albertson all making second pit stops here. But Ame Sakaramori leading the field with... looks like about a 5-second gap now. I don't know where the speeds come from, but apparently Ame found the go faster button hidden somewhere deep within that car, and it is working out very well for the driver of that number 2 machine. If Ame manages to take home this win, that means that we will see the entire hybrid development team locking themselves into the playoffs, as we get big brake smoke out of that number 2 going down into turn number 6, but still a 5-second lead over the 44 of limited time, who has somehow figured out how to come last in nearly every race, is now running back in the second position, albeit 6 seconds back. Looks like further back in the field, August has gone off the raceway down in turn number 3. Once again, no damage for that 21 machine. Still up +5 despite that incident just there, but now he has to deal with 2 blocker cars that think they're actually being scored in this race, duking it out. Queen Amatrine also off the track in that 37. It looks like she just did the same thing that we saw Ash with an E do, but without quite the substantial damage. A limited time in the 44 is going to go off in turn number 11, so that's going to be his podium chances scaling away. And now Bloody Wolf is back up in second, battling it out with a Madcap. Ame Sakuramori has completely sailed away with the race lead, but now it's the battle for second where all the drama is going to be as we get ready to get the white flag from race control. Just 4 more miles before we crown a race winner here for the Cheese Rubber Grand Prix, and Ame Sakuramori has come down pit lane for fuel. What a wonderful race strategy, and we have more drivers coming back down. It's Thirds going to win this on fuel strategy after all. God damn it, Thirds. You bamboozled all of us. You probably even bamboozled yourself. If you don't wreck out on this lap, Thirds is going to be the winner. There is a lapped car right in front of her. That is the 818 of MF Vetus coming out of pit lane right in front of her. What a disaster for some of these drivers' fuel strategies and Thirds. Good for nothing, number 3 of Thirds. On the first pit stop, I thought she was on to something, and then I immediately changed my mind when she did something really stupid, as she is famous for doing. And then somehow, the cards have all fallen into her favor, and she is our race leader once again. Ame Sakuramori still back in second, so it looks like pretty much every single dang car on the field had to pit here on this white flag lap. And there is still also the opportunity that this 3 car finds a way to wreck out. It could still go to Sakuramori if something goes wrong here. About 2 miles left to go, one way or another, to figure out who is going to be taking home the checkered flag. And Ame Sakuramori going off the track in turn number 5. That is going to still keep it in second, as it had enough of a lead off of pit lane to actually not lose any ground there, though there is a bit more damage on that number 2 car. That's going to allow Bloody Wolf to start closing the gap, but not really. As Thirds goes off the track, Thirds is going to hit turn 11, the infamous number turn 11, but no damage on that 3 machine. She keeps it pointed in the right direction. I swear to God, this might be the luckiest driver we have seen on in Ottercar as a whole here in a long time. Just one more corner for Thirds to make a point of not messing up, and Thirds will be your winner here for the Cheese Rubber Grand Prix, and our first driver to be a repeat winner here in season number 2. Sure enough, the field has been bamboozled, and Thirds takes home the win at Road America for the Cheese Rubber Grand Prix. What the hell are these drivers doing? Bring it home. A full 30 seconds back is going to be Ame Sakuramori, who still has not even crossed the line yet. Let's go back to the 88 of Ashley back in third, Madcap, and then Valnar rounding out your top 5. So 2 top 5 finishes for the Blazed and Drunk drivers, and it's the 2 drivers of that team that have been really kind of struggling the most. What an event it has been here this evening. We've all been bamboozled, and evidently nothing matters. But hey, if you betted on it being an odd number driver winning the race, then I guess you got it right. Because Thirds managed to do it here this evening. Up plus 25, the most improved driver out of anyone, showing that it is possible to effectively go last to first if you simply outsmart the field on pit strategy. What an event. Maybe a little bit more cautions than we would have liked with chicanery going on in turn number 11. We actually had more drivers pile up in turn 11 when we were coming to the checkered flag for that number 3 car. So let's take a look back. Let's see if we can't see what all went down, because it seems like it might have been a big one in turn number 11. Not really, actually. It looks like everyone is mostly okay. I see Chris Cox back there also doing the same thing. And sure enough, that is just about that here at Road America. Let's take a look at how the results shake out here for tonight's event. And it looks like the results have not been posted yet. We're actually still waiting for a couple of drivers to cross the finish line before we can pull up the results screen. So we're going to wait here just a moment for whoever iRacing thinks has not completed the race to actually cross the start-finish line, so we can take a look down at our official race results here for the Cheese Rubber Grand Prix. The rest of the field all making their way back down to pit lane. They've done their jobs. They're ready to just pack it up and go on home here this evening. Of course, next week going to be heading to... I actually don't know where we're going for next race. Let's take a quick look down at that. Got to pull up the Discord server here and take a look through the schedule. And we're looking... and we're looking. All right, so after this, round 6, going to be heading on over to the Alton Park circuit for the rant. I fucking hate Alton Park Grand Prix. One of our 2 tracks from the UK. As Chris Cox is sitting here in turn number 11, I don't know, I'm not quite sure what Chris Cox is up to. I think Chris Cox is the driver we're waiting for to actually come back down pit lane so that we can pull up the race results. And there we go, he's going to take the tow on down. Who else are we waiting for? Sarah something and Queen Amatrine. Please make your way to pit lane so that the race is officially declared over and I can act... Sarah! I'll tell you what, race fans, I can't put up with these drivers. I'm at my wit's end with them. The race is over. It's done. What has happened has happened. Just pull back into pit lane so I can pull up the race results. I beg you. I assure you that the race is over. I beg you. Why are you all still out on the track? Someone here in these remaining 4 cars that are still on the raceway has not been scored as actually finishing the race for some reason or another. Why? Oh, because Sarah something just took the tow to pit lane. What? The race is over. How did someone's position just change? I'm so confused. I've lost all faith in these, all faith in these drivers. I know they're all several laps down here at this rate, but the race is over. So they shouldn't complete the remaining laps. They should just bring it down pit lane. That's how racing normally works, is when the leader crosses the start-finish line, the race ends. You don't complete the remaining laps. But sure enough, that is exactly what these drivers are doing. They're trying to complete the laps that they were down by even though that's not how it works. But you know what? Whatever. It's fine. It is no big deal. I would just like to pull up the race results graphics. That's all I want. That's all I want in life, is to pull up the race results graphics. And it's not going to let me do that until Ametrine decides to get off the track. Everyone else has pulled it on in, except for Ametrine and one blocker car. She's being a big overachiever here. We get the point. You want your laps back. I'm sorry, though. The race is over. The race is ended. Just go back to pit lane. I'm going to implode. That's entirely it. I'm just going to implode here. All right, I don't have time to sit here and wait for these drivers to decide that they're done with the race, so I'm just going to read the results to you, and you're not going to see the broadcast graphics, and you're just going to have to cry about it. Thirds is our race winner, despite all odds, in that number 3 machine, followed by Ame Sacramori, with a runner-up position in that number 2 with its best finish of Ottercar Season 2. Ashley in the 88, rounding out the podium back in 3rd. 4th, going to go back to Madcap in the 38, followed by the 776 of Valnar back in 5th. Chris Cox in 6th in the 69, followed by August back in 7th. Dwayne Day being scored back in 8th, followed by Pav in 9th, and Bloody Wolf rounding out the top 10. 11th, going to go back to Queen Ametrine, followed by Zoe in 12th. 13th to Ash in the 030, 14th to Sarkin in the 901. 15th to Jeremy Albertson in the 985, followed by Deeg in 16th in the 800. 17th going to go back to the 777 entry of Sarah Something, followed by Oh You Know in 18th. Limit Time back in 19th with Ash back in 20th after looking like he was in prime condition to win this race. 21st going to go back to Drop Table Roster, followed by Lake in 22nd. MF Vetus back in 23rd, followed by Rally in 24th, Med in 25th, and Kevin 11 rounding out the tail end of the field back in 6th. And will we see Queen Ametrine pull it back down to pit lane? Yes, we will. Hallelujah. The race is officially being scored as over, and we can pull the graphics up for you. Now you can actually see how everyone finished. And of course, the blocker cars are not being scored, so ignore those here on this race results screen. You get the point, though. I just read everything to you. There were cars, they drove, things happened, life is good, the race is over. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see y'all next week at the Olden Park Raceway. Have a good evening.